In our study, we already have something like yeah, that's the one, right? If you will look at this, some of this cannot be used with t-test, right? What variable in this specific problem contains more than two variables? Okay, you have educational qualification, length of stay, and place of job assignment. So let us go to the data again. Perhaps I'll turn this over now to Engineer Pulancos to handle analysis of variance. Still, we use comparison of things.
So we have to use a one-way ANOVA. What are the variables we're going to have as a dependent list variable? What are those? The job satisfaction. What else?
Job assignment.
Job assignment. And educational attainment.
Since the factor is job assignment. Katong sa ubos, is one at a time. Okay, we go to the average. Ito na mga averages, not the record. Job satisfaction. Okay, general. Again, all averages. Organizational identity, general average.
What else?
OI. Can we please go to the general na lang?
That's one.
General average sa organizational identity. Balik lang. Just use the general. Then, commitment.
The post-hoc is
Only one post-hoc name. Shafi. I will explain that later. Shafi.
This is the ANOVA table for the two groups. result of, you have to take note with this result from, although this is a degrees of freedom for the whole population, but you have to look in with the mean square, the F and the significant, the P significant. For the OI, still has this one, the organizational commitment, the turnovers, and the job satisfaction. So you have to take note with the significant P value. If your indicator is if the value here have less than the magic 0.05. So if the value has a magic less than the magic 0.05 value of P, so your hypothesis, the null hypothesis, should be rejected, accepted, rejected. So with this one, the turnover here with a value of 0.84, which is not higher than the 0.05, so you have to retain the null hypothesis. So only with this one, with the hypothesis testing, with the organizational, the OI, the commitment, and the job satisfaction is significant.
Explain that. Okay, before I will explain to you the post hoc of the, what do you mean by post hoc? It means that if there are significant differences that you saw when you compare the job assignments, you will also see what particular groups differ, okay, using the Shefay post hoc test. But before I go into that, let me just explain to you that when you have an analysis of variance like this, you should not forget that you are comparing groups. So it is important for you to know, that regardless of the groups that they have, the intention to leave the organization is not, is more or less similar. It's more or less comparable. That whether they want to stay or not, one group would want to stay or not, cannot be discerned. We do not have enough data to detect that in this study. This data is telling us, therefore, that regardless of the place of assignment of the employee, their intention to leave the university is more or less similar, comparable. Okay? The post hoc test will reveal to us that the higher education teaching staff, okay, and the basic education teaching staff have more or less significant differences in their intention to leave. Unfortunately, we were not able to get the mean. But if you will get the mean, you will notice that okay, you will notice that if you have the mean, for example, the mean between, in as far as the post hoc is concerned, we were saying that the teaching staff and in basic education and the teaching staff in the higher education have more or less significant differences in terms of organizational identity. If you look at the mean between teaching staff and the teaching staff in the higher education, the teaching staff in the basic education has a higher organizational identity compared to the teaching staff in the higher education. Okay? Mas taas ang ilahang identity. Okay. Let's go back to this post hoc again. What else is different? If you look at that, you trace it here. Dini sa significance. Another one is that one is similar to that one on top. Here, they differ also in organizational commitment. The teaching staff in the basic education compared to the teaching staff in the higher education, no, it's 0.07, no? No, that is not. Kanitingali. Okay? Maugi hapon. In terms of job satisfaction. In terms of job satisfaction, this one. Our point of reference is this one. The teaching staff and in the higher and the basic education differs. Let us see their mean. Okay, the mean of the teaching staff in the high basic education in terms of job satisfaction is 3.2. The mean for the teaching staff in the higher education is 2.9. And we said that in terms of job satisfaction, the teaching staff and the higher education compared to the basic education do differ. There is a higher job satisfaction observed in basic education compared to the higher education. So in other words, the post hoc test will tell you, because totally you cannot just directly get it from the table like this. We said that in the organizational identity, there seemed to be a significant difference between the four groups: teaching staff, non-teaching staff, or both higher education and basic education. Kanipod and this one. But you cannot detect where does the difference lie. In other words, it is good for us to look at the post hoc because it will also tell us where the difference lie. And usually the most common ones is the Shafei test. 0.025 here. Another one is 0.007 for organizational commitment, okay? And 0.0, this is significance levels, right? 0.007 for organizational commitment and organizational identity. And then for job satisfaction, you also have for teaching and staff for both departments. What does this one say? It gives us the subset for alpha is equal to 0.05 here. So you will see that the comparisons can be done at a lower scale. Pila kabuok ang teaching staff sa higher ed, ang support staff, and so on. So a lot of data here can be seen. But I would suggest that for you nga dili kayo mo malibog, just settle yourself first with this post hoc test to see a bigger picture for this data. You can copy this actually in the Word and have a good glance of it. Okay, so you can have a better glance of it when it is done in here. It's easier to look at it that way. Multiple comparisons. Anyway, you will be more interested in this areas lang kani until here. So it's easier to look at it this way. So far as job assignment is concerned, it is only the teaching and the non-teaching staff have significant differences in organizational identity, in organizational commitment, and not in turnover intention, but in job satisfaction. Let's take a look at another data. Again, we analyze, we compare means, we go to the one-way Anova, and we still use this data here, but the factor has to change. So we use the tenure rec. The contrast is still the same, the post hoc, okay. We continue the options, okay, continue, then we say okay. It is very clear that we have these two variables that seem to be different when the groups are compared. Let us see the mean. Okay? Let us see the mean first. We have the turnover intention and we have the organizational commitment. Let's take a look at the mean. This is now number of years of study, number of years of stay in the organization. Look at the mean. You will notice that for organizational commitment, there seems to be a higher mean for those who have stayed in the organization for quite some time. And for turnover intentions, there is a higher score for the younger ones compared to the ones who have been in the organization for quite some time. But let's take a look at the real comparison. Significance, okay. This is the real comparison now. Significance. Okay, we saw this one. Between 1 to 3 years and 21 to 65 years. What do we mean by that? The intention to leave the organization seemed to be remarkably significant when you compare employees who have been in the organization from 1 to 3 years compared to those who have been in the organization from 21 to 65 years. If you will interpret further, you have to go back to the mean and see. Turnover intention is 2.51 for the younger ones, the ones that we are comparing, and 21 to 65 is 1.91. What does this imply? Because you will always be asked, what does this imply when you write down your paper? So, what does this data imply? It is not enough to compare the figures. You have to put your heart to your mind into that. What does this data imply? Yes, the younger ones are most likely to leave the organization compared to the, okay, that is it. You have enough data to say that. You can always declare that data because you have the data to support you. Wala na ba lain nga significant kani? Kani man gyud ang very significant. Let's say at the organizational commitment. Wala man di ay gyud kaayo. Organizational commitment. Okay. Dili kayo siya. Okay, here we have job satisfaction. Wala po. Okay. So that is just the finding of one run of data when we were talking about a number of years. What other data do we have? Kumanata sa job assignments. What else? Educational qualification. Okay. Educational qualification. It seems that as if we only have one. Organizational identity is significant when we compare the groups. And what are the mean? Organizational identity. These are the mean. The highest mean goes to the ones with the doctorate and the the doctorate units and the doctorate degree. So let us see that in the post hoc when we talk about organizational identity. Naa ba? Wala gani kayo siya ma-perceive diri. So the significance level does not even tell us. It simply tells us that generally, the groups do differ in terms of their educational qualification when we talk about the organizational identity. So here, you will see that organizational identity here, kung magugkayo siya, very erratic ba? No? Ang college, ay gani ilahang commitment, ang na-MA, taas yung commitment, ang katong na-doc ka ng master's degree, lower pa. Dili siya kayo trendy ang iyahang pag-present sa iyahang mean. But that is what the mean is, what is the data that we have. Would there be any question? There is another table I will give you. Okay, I will show you the table and how to. You can just get the table here and then add the data here, paste it into your table. Oh, I do not have it, but we can still use this. What you will do is like this. You'll have, for example, okay. You can still have, you can just add one more. For example, you have job assignment. So you have how many for job assignment? You have how many categories for job assignment? So you can still put the mean here, then you can just merge your table, merge your cell. Then here, you put an F. So here you can put the categories. Diba? You put your mean, you put your description, you put your, here. So you still have this. You can still use this. Okay, question. Yes, it's.
I was just wondering if there are specific verbal descriptions for the differences in terms of the range of the values. Let's say, for example, how high is high, how low is the low difference.
Okay, let me just go into that.